and welcome to Bonus Action Heroes Read RPG Reddit Stories. You can also listen to this in podcast format, just search for Bonus Action Heroes wherever you get your podcasts. This episode we have a couple of stories where those involved haven't had the best grasp of the rules. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. My players think all enemies/monsters are dumb. This is from user FewBeat8343 on RD&D. Rant begins. I, DM, have played with this group of people for nearly a year now. Last session, the player's home base was sieged by a group of cultists, mix of human and dragonborn. During the session, I have clearly shown that they are intelligent beings and fully capable of planning to bring an entire city down to its knees. On the last encounter in the session, my players needed to go inside a temple that was guarded by dragonborn. Things happened. One of my players was chased by a dragonborn down the alleyway. He managed to outrun the dragonborn, circle around them, and jump into the temple through a large glass window. The dragonborn managed to catch up and saw the huge hole the player had left behind in the window. I ruled that the dragonborn noticed the window right away, since that mess was not there before. My player was yelling, "But he's a monster! He must be too stupid to notice that!" I was baffled and had to show them the Dragonborn stat block. It has a 15 intelligence, smarter than anyone there. Rant over. Have you encountered players like this?
No. I don't really know what to say with that. That player thinks they're playing a computer game. I think they think they're playing Assassin's Creed, where as long as they get more than 20 foot away, the NPC loses sight and doesn't know where they are. I'm glad to say I haven't really experienced players like that. I have experienced players who don't think things through, and that can be me sometimes. But yeah, I don't really know how to deal with that. You just need to sit down and say, look, it's not Baldur's Gate 3. It's not a computer game. We're trying to create
thinking and feeling creatures just like the one that you are playing
in a living and breathing world. In fact, it's more intelligent than your character. So the fact that you jumped through the window and thought no one would notice is probably good role playing.
A big hole the size of the person.
Yeah, like Wile E. Coyote style. But yeah, accidental, good role playing of a dim character.
It's amazing that I pulled one comment that I was like, oh yeah, that's a great response. You just said what the comment said. Intrepid Progress 228, classic video game experience. You leave an enemy's sight, they completely forget about you. Or they realise they can't see you, so resume patrolling instead.
Yeah, there's a lot of very good Viva La Dirt League videos with that kind of stuff, where they're sneaking around and they're literally like 2 inches from the NPC and they don't notice them. Yeah.
Well, there's not much you can say about this one. I enjoyed the story, but I also wanted it as a leaping off point for, I love the way that we approach playing our villains in our games. I think at low level you do have more, these are monstrous creatures. They don't have high intelligence. What they attack you because they are surviving.
Yeah.
But anyone that has what you would think is maybe has an evil motive, or what the party would construe as an evil motive, I have always approached as, I'm the good guy. Why do I think as the villain for the party, that this is the right thing to do? Because they can't think of themselves like that. And I think that's so important for so many really good, really satisfying battles, or else every combat is just very black and white. If there's not a moral grey area to explore.
I agree with you. I think bad guys should not see themselves as bad guys for various reasons, whether it's trauma, whether it's a strong belief in something, whether it's law and order, whether it's they believe in total power and they think they can do it better. Whatever it is, it just makes it more satisfying.
Like it's really satisfying to take out a monster, stand on their corpse, set off your cloak of billowing, feeling heroic. But it's also really satisfying to not feel great about it and explore that through roleplay with everyone.
Hans, are we the baddies?
We're big role players, so I really appreciate that element of games.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
It gives combat a different dynamic.
I also think a bad guy, and I'm going to use the term bad guy, but an antagonist can be better if they have a little bit of longevity. So you don't just kill them the first time you meet them. That can be hard to do, and the higher you get, the harder that gets. But you think about, you found a succubus, you kind of released this NPC from their thrall, and then a fight ensued. And then when it was clear that that this antagonist was losing, they ethereal plane or invisible, I can't remember exactly.
They're intelligent creatures.
Yeah, you were
Same
close
with
to
my night
killing it.
hags in the Curse of Strahd.
Exactly.
Disappear to the ethereal plane rather than die.
And that's why hags are so dangerous. If the GM plays them as intelligent, conniving, wily creatures, they're going to be really hard to kill. Same with the succubus. How long was that succubus on your ship? And you didn't know who it was. It could have been any of the players. It could have been any of the NPCs. You were
And they became
properly...
so much more than one monster that we fought with, because now there's resentment, we've been beaten, we're particularly bitter towards this creature. Again, same with the hags. You fought them right at the beginning of Curse of Strahd. They haunted you for a while until one of your characters died, and then I thought I'd done enough damage. Now we're 2 years later, and you're finally fighting them again, and there's going to be real satisfaction in that. That's a long overdue revenge.
I think there's more begrudging feelings against the hags than there probably is against Strahd. As soon as you read the question, I thought I'm going to end up mentioning The Monsters Know What They're Doing by Keith Amman, which literally, it's a blog. You can go and read it for free. It literally goes through all the different races that are in D&D of monsters, from goblins to drow to beholders, everything you can think of.
Hags. I definitely read that.
And hags are in there, and it details how they would fight. He looks at their wisdom, their intelligence, all their different aspects, and then comes up with a realistic set of battle tactics that they might use, how they might use their abilities, things like what their first spell might be. All of that good stuff really makes them feel that they're more than just a bag of hit points, which the player in that story just seems to think of them as an NPC in a bag of hit points in a computer game that they just whack it twice and it's done. Whereas, like you said, it's more satisfying for me if, when you kill anything, you are like, have I done the right thing there? You have taken a life. It should weigh heavy. It should have a consequence. Yeah. Murder is murder, even if the cause is right. And some might argue that you're the bad guy for killing a group of kobolds or goblins or whatever they are. And I know there was a lot of backlash against when D&D started to soften things, like saying that drow are evil, Dwergar are evil. In the old rules, they were just kind of comic book evil to be an antagonist. I actually like the idea far more that it's nuanced. The society is evil, the culture is evil, but the individuals within it, just like us, are in the system we're in, and we can't see outside of it. We're kind of brainwashed into it. We're trapped. So I like that. In Out of the Abyss, you've got drow, you've got fae, you've got Shadowkai. It's really interesting to explore that culture and have...
Why are they like this?
Why are they
seen like this?
And in fact, that's one of the things I love about our Out of the Abyss campaign is it's not really good versus evil. It's more like different shades of evil fighting for the same thing. But I do kind of still feel that your characters are on the side of good. They kind of want to do the good thing, but they've got that taint of a bad society or trauma or something that has put a filter on their perspective of the world, which that's wonderful.
What a lovely advert for our Out of the Abyss campaign, which you can find on our channel in our playlists.
You can. It's worth a watch.
I feel like a game show host sometimes. What kind of story do you want next, Matt?
What have you got?
What have you got?
I've got a dumb one. Do you want a dumb one?
Yes.
This guy's. I've written in my notes. The DM is always right, except this one. This one's a dumbass.
Okay, it's not me, is it?
No. This one comes from user bonus action hypno. From Mobile Day 6192. It was posted on both RD&D and RPG Horror Stories. Okay,
well, that kind of telegraphs what's coming to a degree. RPG Horror Stories.
So, obviously, in-game turn-based combat is the only way to do things. If we didn't, we'd be screaming over each other like wild animals. During a time-sensitive mission, the DM described is it golem or golem?
Depends. Yeah, it's both.
Potato. A potato guarding a location that I wanted to enter. I split off from my party members, as my character often did, to breach the area. Don't worry, my party has a sending stone with my name on it. Red flag. Anyway,
Yeah.
We knew the dungeon would begin to crumble when we took its treasure, so the party said they'd contact me when the process began. Insert a fight with the golem guarding a poison-filled stockpile I wanted to enter. The party messaged me before I was done and said the 10-minute timer had begun. Perfect. I have a scroll of Dimension Door, and this felt worth wasting it on. I was going to wait until the very last second. Well, the golem was described as getting weaker, and because its attacks rely on poison, to which I was immune, the fight wasn't going well for him. So he decided, on his turn, he was going to do nothing. I laughed and began describing my turn because doing nothing means he's turn skipping. The DM stopped me and began laughing as the golem described that as long as he doesn't move, they're both stuck there, as he does not plan on ending his turn. I asked what the canonical reason for me just sitting there and letting this happen is. The DM said combat is turn-based, you can escape outside of your turn, and said that this was the true trap of the golem. Then just moved on. I don't know if Matt's face-palming because of the story. Yeah. I was confused about what was going on, as the DM described, but
I'm confused.
before I could contest, the temple was falling apart. I rolled death saves, a natural 1 and a 7. I was just dead, because apparently this is like Pokemon. According to DM, my Wanty poisoner is a polite little gentleman taking his kindly patience and waiting for the golem to take his turn, being openly told he doesn't plan on doing anything and still just standing there and waiting. Matt's figuring things out with his face.
I am trying to figure out what on earth is going on with here. So the golem do they think it's Baldur's Gate where you can just not take your turn and wait for the other party members to arrive before you take your next turn?
You know what? The first comment I have is from Good Dude 08. If the DM's entire exposure to D&D rules, it's exploiting them in Baldur's Gate 3, because in BG3, basically they say maybe they don't know the rules. Maybe they came from playing BG3.
Yeah, because ultimately, if you play rules as written, you have initiative order. If that golem doesn't take its turn, no one else after them takes their turn either. So there will be no death saves. There'll be nothing. So I really don't get what the GM was getting at here. It does sound like Baldur's Gate. Someone's getting a bit meta.
I read this and I just see, when characters are waiting and you can't see this if we do this audio only, but that NPC, I'm just waiting, jogging on the spot kind of thing.
doing a little Karlak dance, or my monk doing his
exactly
stretches. Yeah.
I did pour through the comments. Well, I did with everyone, and then I found something that is a reference I don't get. I don't know if you will, from Level 7 Cannoneer. In my opinion, I think the whole thing is an Undertale reference. Have you ever played Undertale?
I know of Undertale. I have not played it, so I don't get the reference. Sorry.
So they say the most famous boss fight from that game ends with the boss realizing that he can never win against the protagonist because the protagonist can just keep restarting, so the boss decides to do nothing in a last-ditch effort to force the player to quit playing the game altogether. The solution ends up being a fourth wall break where you sit there for a while, touch no buttons, and the boss eventually gets droopy eyes and falls asleep. And then you slowly, quietly use the cursor to push the attack button.
There are spells like time stop and such which would make that kind of thing make sense, but
I never even thought of that. I just, like I said, thought you just don't know the rules.
I think it sounds like a GM who had an idea that probably could have been good if it was
In
turning.
the context of this video game, once with one boss, that is quite funny. Not as a rule for the entire game.
No, just no.
Yeah,
Stop it.
there were a lot of
Stop it.
posts as well that said, "You're trolling us, right?"
That's my brain can't compute that. But I've played D&D so long, that would instantly be a red flag to me. But if you're new to it and you've only played Baldur's Gate,
I mean, we should go back to the little red flag of I frequently leave the party to the point they have a sending stone with my name on it. There is an element here. If
Yeah.
you dig really deep, obviously we don't get enough context on these things. Was it DM revenge?
Yeah, is this player always going off on their own? And yeah.
So instead of an outro, I managed to find footage of the scene from Undertale, which was referenced earlier, and thought it was worth sharing. It's time for my special attack. Are you ready? Here goes nothing. I feel so nostalgic for 8-bit games now. Yep, that's right. It's literally nothing. And it's not going to be anything either. You get it? I know I can't beat you. One of your turns, you're just gonna kill me. So, I've decided it's not gonna be your turn, ever. I'm just gonna keep having my turn until you give up. Even if it means we have to stand here until the end of time. Turns out I enjoy doing an anime villain voice too. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed this, please don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also join the live chat on Twitch at Bonus Action Heroes. If you want to suggest Reddit stories to cover, please comment below or join our Discord linked in the description.